We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live.
Hey, get the payday. You want the payday? I know that Canelo Alvarez is becoming laughable at this point, almost a parody of himself, right? Canelo Alvarez, he just had an abysmal performance versus William Skull. I'm gonna tell y'all like this, man. Ego thoughts. Canelo looks so bad to me from my eye test that, you know, if you follow my channel, I have never liked Canelo versus Crawford. I don't believe in radical weight class jumping. I don't believe that is smart. I believe moving up in weight is a process. And I just, truthfully, I really do not prefer it. I don't prefer just willy-nilly making decisions like some fighters do and saying, yo, I'm moving from lightweight to welterweight like Broner did, right? Because what is lost in between that? And for me, you guys, I don't know your opinion, but I feel like Broner moving and skipping 140, he actually kind of messed up his career, because Broner was a phenom at 130 and 135, but then moved up. Oh man, you know, AB ain't beating him. A lot of babies, right? He moved up from the Gavin Reese fight, I believe, at 135 to 147 to challenge Paulie Malignaggi. Now, to be honest, I understood that, because Paulie at the time, Keith Thurman was like, you better not duck me, son. You better not. And Paulie was looking like a lick. He was looking like the easiest champion to beat. So if you're moving up, that's a great move for Adrian, the problem Broner, to basically have try to dethrone him, which he did. It was, you know, it was a tough fight, but all in all, I think that was a good move. But then when we're talking about Marcos Maidana, like Broner could have achieved what he achieved, 24 years old, and like become a 4-division champion, and then you drop back down to 140, or even fight at a catch weight of like 143 versus Amir Khan or something at the time. I think that's a wasted fight. I really wanted to see Amir Khan versus Broner. I think that would have been stupendous. I really like that fight. No one really talks about that, but I truly think that would have been a real good fight. Real good fight. But Broner pretty much hurt his career staying up there and fighting Maidana. We know what happened in that fight. Definitely a tough fight. And then Broner kind of never really fought the same. Like, he refused to let his hands go like he did at 130, 135. The rest is history, right? So never been a fan of it. But Canelo looks so bad to me and looks so worn down, and it looks like he has mileage on him, to the point where I'm seriously reconsidering picking Terrence Crawford. Versus before, I was like, nah, Crawford's a great fighter, brilliant, skilled, more skilled even than Canelo Alvarez. But I just kept thinking like, man, I really don't like this weight. I don't like the weight jump for Crawford. No tune-ups, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, he looked that bad. He looked bad enough to the point where all of that, I got to reconsider all of that noise and really just look at Crawford as having a strong chance, very strong chance against Canelo Alvarez in September. That's how bad he looked. But I know you clicked on the video wanting to know how Canelo messed up. And he did an interview after the Skull fight, and it's so pitiful. And his fans are very pitiful to me as well. Like, I feel like there's boxing fans and there's boxing fans that are fanatical fans of a fighter. If you're a fanatical, radical fan of a particular fighter and you prioritize that, I'm not saying I can't tell you who to like and who not to like, right? I never try to do that. But if you're so like absurd with it to the point of you don't really respect the sport or other people in the sport because you're basically a groupie, a man fan, as I coined the term man fan, right? Then I can't respect that in the sport of boxing. And people hide it as like passion, but you don't have to be a groupie to be passionate. So the Canelo fans are some of the worst in the sport of boxing because they're not even trying to keep it real with boxing. They're not really trying to keep it real with the public. That's just my opinion. So they allow Canelo to say crazy things. They allow Canelo to do whatever he wants, and there's no questions. There's no further conversations. They never disagree with Canelo. That's what I'm talking about. Just because you have a favorite fighter, that doesn't mean you have to agree with every single move. If Canelo says he wants to fight Yildirim, they agree to it. If Canelo says he wants to fight a wee little baby, if he wants to fight a newborn, you would have Canelo fans, some of them, who are like, man, that baby had it coming, and justify Canelo fighting a baby. That's the fan. You're like the bottom of bottom fans to me, and I don't respect you because you don't have a backbone. You're not willing to keep it real just because you have a affinity or sickness or obsession with a particular fighter. So with that being said, the interview I seen with Canelo, it was really bad. It was pathetic. I'm surprised no one else but Ego is talking about it. And the interview, the title of the video was something like Canelo tells Terrence Crawford, don't fight like William Skull. Now, granted, William Skull, he did what he thought he could do, and that was that. You know what I mean? He tried his best. He actually had Canelo looking foolish in that fight, right? But offensively, I think he could have got off more, and you make him miss, make him pay. And that's where he kind of came up short, is he was making Canelo punch air, punch fresh air, punch ropes, and make him miss. But for me, given his size and whatnot, he wasn't making Canelo pay offensively as much, like a Dimitri Bivol or a Floyd Mayweather. When they beat Canelo, they was on him, you know what I mean? And they were releasing combinations, and Canelo was being overwhelmed. And I think William Skull, if he had a different mentality, he has the size and he had the footwork and the defense and thing in the youth or whatever. He's younger than Canelo. He had these things on his side, but just his temperament and mentality wasn't that. But for Canelo to tell Crawford how to fight is horrible. Like, this guy is moving up. I don't know why Turkey wants to see this fight so bad, but this guy is literally moving up 2-3 weight classes because he's not a long-time resident at junior middleweight at 154. So to me, Crawford, he spent more of his time at welterweight. So I'm looking at it as pretty much a welterweight bulking up and fighting a guy at 168 trying to get something done. And for Canelo to be that afraid of Crawford and try to tell him don't fight like William Skull, that's kind of corny. Like, you shouldn't be worried about whatever he comes with. And for me, you have to listen to what people say, their choice words and whatnot. Why would you, in a sport where when you're in pain, it's best to hide it with the poker face, why would you even inform your opponent that this is pretty much a weakness and you're advertising it by telling your opponent how they should fight you? So for me, if I was Crawford, I would actually do the opposite. You know, that's like if someone's hitting you to the body and you have a granite chin, you could take the headshots all day, pause. But you're weak to the body. That's like telling someone, hey, man, stop them body shots. Fight like a man. Fight like a man, only headshots. Like, you don't tell your opponent how to fight. That just means that you don't really have a good tolerance for it. And that means that you don't really have answers for it. That's what I take from that. So Terrence Crawford should definitely try to implement many things from the William Skull game plan. Obviously, Canelo being a media darling, he's going to want more offense because they might not give it to him on the scorecard. But then again, he's Turkey's boy, and Turkey's the one putting up the money. So maybe Crawford does get a lot of love if he has competitive rounds and, you know, is outboxing Canelo. I don't know. I don't really want to see the fight, but it is what it is. It's two names, and they're doing it anyway. So really, it doesn't matter if it's my favorite fight or not. You know, it's happening. So I just thought that was very lame for Canelo Alvarez to attempt to tell Terrence Crawford how he should approach and or fight. I mean, who does that? That's like, imagine a football team telling the 49ers, stop having your quarterback scramble. Either just pass the ball or let us know you're going to run it. Like, it's not your job or obligation to inform your team of the strategy you're going to use. You know, that's just corny to me. And that's what makes Canelo fans, a lot of them, corny, because this is the stuff they accept. They accept Canelo saying bonkers things, bananas, like, oh, I don't want to fight a Mexican. But you fought tons of Mexican fighters. You fought in Mexico, where you were on a steady diet of probably mostly Hispanic Mexican fighters. So what made you announce that you no longer wanted to do that? And what other Mexican legend ever came through on some stuff like that? Like, oh, I don't want to fight people with my flag. You never heard Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. say that. You never heard Barrera and Morales said they didn't want to fight each other. But Canelo fans, they let all this slide. They allow Canelo to shamelessly duck David Benavidez like nobody's business. And they're like, oh, I don't see a problem with it. And they'll come up with 1,000 excuses of a great fight that would make great money and be a great event and could be a passing of the torch. So, you know, if Canelo lost to David Benavidez, they'd rather just not see it some way. You're not a boxing fan to me, because I think Benavidez, I've told y'all for a while, I think Benavidez would tear Canelo up, but seeing is believing. He still got to prove it. But the Canelo fans are so chicken, they don't want to see him get the opportunity to prove it. So that shows me they are scared. They are petrified. And for me, that's what waters down the sport of boxing, because I'm a lifelong student of the game and boxing fan. My favorite fighters, I didn't care who they fought, like Roy Jones Jr. When Roy was coming up, that was my guy. I don't care who you put him in the ring. Stop Virgil here with a body shot. Y'all must have forgot. Like, I'm like, bring him, because I had confidence in my fighter. But now this new generation, they love and support a guy like Canelo, but literally have zero faith that Canelo can get it done. So they rather Canelo avoid Beterbiev, avoid a Bivol rematch, avoid David Morrell, and avoid, obviously, the biggest fight, which is David Benavidez. But then they'll act like they love Crawford fighting against Canelo, and he got to do all this moving. And they do love it because it puts Bud at the deficit. Bud is older than Canelo, even though his fights don't look like he's the older fighter, but that's another story. And they want Bud at the maximum deficit. He's a Black American fighter, undefeated, and it's just like Jermell Charlo, where you got a guy jumping up all this weight in one fell motion, one fell swoop. That's what they want, because Canelo fans, they like to see Canelo fight with training wheels because they're cowards. So they need the training wheels. It's like bowling for little kids, and you put the guardrails up, the safety bumpers up. That's how Canelo's career has been in most of the second half and the final chapters of Canelo's career is it's not just straight up bowling. And if the ball goes in the gutter, you got a gutter ball, you don't get no points for it. Win or lose, like David Benavidez, Canelo, it's always the guardrails are up and, rehydration clauses, make Kovalev fight after he had a tough fight with Anthony Yard and then he coming back in a month and getting in another training camp. It's all like charades and stuff like that and avoiding certain people. So for Canelo to have Crawford on the radar, and this is a thing that they're pursuing and pushing forth, and you're worried about how Bud is going to fight and you're trying to put that out, just the fact that, to me, that is extremely weak. The fact that you're putting that out there, don't fight like William Skull, is one of the weaker things that Canelo could have possibly said. Because why would you even care? Like, imagine like Artur Beterbiev, because to me, Artur Beterbiev is a man's man, right? If somebody was moving up the amount of weight or divisions that Crawford is moving up to fight Canelo, I'm pretty sure that Beterbiev wouldn't really care what they're bringing to the table, right? For example, Beterbiev's at 175 light heavy. If a guy who was at, 160, right? A guy at 160 was trying to fight him, I don't think he would put out messages and warnings and say, oh, don't fight like Marcus Brown, don't fight like Anthony Yard. I don't think he would care, because I think he would be insanely confident that as a light heavyweight, I'm fighting somebody who isn't a light heavyweight, right? So I don't think he would really even have said that. But just the fact that Canelo says don't fight like Skull means that Crawford really should fight like Skull, because it clearly bothers you. And we all seen from the Skull fight, you really, especially at this age, you seem lazy and lethargic. You really ain't have no answer for Skull's approach, right? Yeah, there's things, he was inexperienced. There's things he could have did better, but there's things you could have did better. And you the one that got almost 70 fights. So for me, I don't know. It's hard to have the same faith in Canelo as maybe earlier in his career, because he really looks like a guy who is kind of collecting a check and more worried about sustaining his bank account and the financials rather than, hey, I want to show y'all I'm really the best in this game. And I think when you lose that, you tend to lose in the ring. When you lose that fire, like when you're just doing something for money, because here's the thing, money can make certain people complacent, right? It can make you complacent because you're really being driven by something that they print daily or whenever they want, right? And I feel like when you really are, like the times I've been successful, like with YouTube or whatever, it wasn't me chasing money. It's like going to the casino and you're super broke and you shouldn't really be at the casino and you're trying to chase a bag so you can pay your bills. Usually those are the times where you're going to go to Cash Creek or one of these Indian casinos and you're going to just fail because you're chasing instead of attracting. I really believe this, people, you know, but when you're just going to the casino, your bills are paid and you don't really care. Like you're like, I'm straight either way. I'm going pretty much to have fun on some recreational stuff. Cool. That's how we getting it. You know what I mean? That's how we getting it in. Then you might be lucky on that day, right? So I don't believe that's a good motivator. It's not really sustainable, you know, to just be attracted to money. And then what happens if you have a person like Terrence Crawford is like frugal. I seen him in the interview. He's like, I don't care about, you know, buying a bunch of like sports cars that are $250,000 or whatever. He said, I got a truck, you know, so he a country like Omaha dude, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, Terrence Crawford, he's still driven by, I'm the best. I can sleep you. I want to show that there's levels. So there's an old saying, and it's like something like, the man who enjoys walking is always going to walk further than the man that enjoys or loves the destination, right? So you are, day in and day out, you love what you're doing. You're finding a reward. I've heard so many people talk about this. Kobe Bryant, one of my idols, he's talked about this, where he's like, you got to enjoy the journey. It's not just like, oh, you're in the finals. It's every step in between to make it to the finals, like the toil, the blood, sweat, and tears, all these things. So to me, I think Canelo has lost that spark almost a long time ago. And really, he's succeeding off of his old work and his brand. And he has a fan base that he can toss around that'll still support him, right? That's what I truly think it is. It's like almost like a musician. They're not capable of putting out new hits, but they got enough of a back catalog where they can still do concerts because people like their old songs, right? Like you have a Keith Sweat. Keith Sweat ain't really dropping new music and CDs, but I guess he backlogged it and put in enough work previously. You know you are my love, baby. You got me twisted. Yeah, you got me twisted, never young. Right? I got what you need right here, baby. You know what I mean? He got enough of a catalog where he could just, do tours and concerts based on that. But you're not really dropping new hits. So Canelo is the Mexican Keith Sweat. You know what I mean? You're not dropping nothing new. You're just surviving off of your old joints. You know what I mean? Your 90s joints or whatever. Make it last or whatever. That's Canelo. He has some hits. He has a good resume. Don't get it twisted. With 70 fights, you better have a good resume. But that passion, that hunger, that I really want to beat up David Benavidez because that's who the fans think can beat me. That's been gone a long time ago. You see Canelo in Italy, and like, I'm not saying don't take trips with your family or your girl, but he seems more content golfing and being with his kids and stuff like that. And he just sees that Turkey and people like that are willing to still pay him outrageous amounts of money for whatever, based on his backlog of what he's already done. But it's really not based on his recent stuff. Like Canelo Triple G3, that third fight did worse than the first two financially, right? So I don't even know if Canelo fights. I mean, he's still popular, but I don't really think Canelo fights is doing what they did when he was primed out, when he's fighting Mayweather and fighting on HBO and stuff like that. But people keep holding him into this light like it is. So anyway, that's my rant. Crawford, I hope Crawford just fights how he wants. You shouldn't be worried about how your opponent's going to fight. I'll do just because you told me not to. That's who I am as a person. If I was Crawford, just because you told me not to fight like Skull, that means I definitely should fight like Skull because you don't like it. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself. Especially if you're new, But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.